welcome to the Cultivating Calmness Podcast. Have you ever lost faith or trust in a certain agency, corporation, system in your life? You know, we've all probably lost faith or trust in a person, but what about the systems that are in place within our lives? Have you ever lost faith or trust in a particular group? Maybe it has to do with politics or religion or medicine or technology or so many other things. But those are the ones that come to mind. And I wanted to focus on medicine today. So for me, losing faith or trust in medicine, that has been something that I have lost trust in over the years. This was not an overnight change. It's things that happened over time that make you question and make you wonder, you know, are they really working for me? Is this really what's going on? And for me, again, as I've talked in previous podcast episodes, you know, my shift from following more Western medicine into more holistic practices has been gradual over time, I would say. If you ask some of my family members, I remember having a discussion with my sister a while back, and she was like, you went on this one vacation, and when you came back, it was like, bam, you know, you were doing all kinds of different things. And I don't particularly recall it being that drastic, but, you know, she was an outside observer to that situation. I do recall going on that vacation and learning new things and feeling inspired and wanting to do things different. So I do remember that. So yeah, maybe things were different, and maybe there was a big shift at that point. For me, it has felt gradual. And then once, you know, for me, my eyes were opened. You know, it's just when you learn something, sometimes you just can't unlearn something. You all probably know what I mean. Again, whether that's with a best friend or a family member or a situation or, you know, a religion, a political group, party, person, etc. You know, you may really love that thing or that person until like there's just one thing you learn and you can't unlearn it. You can't go back to the way it used to be because that information opened your mind to other information and questions. And I think for me, it's advising people to have a questioning attitude. I am not saying that you should not trust Western medicine. It has its time and place. There are absolutely things that are necessary and training that is had, you know, that is very helpful in healing people. Things that, you know, obviously I can't do. You know, emergency medicine is amazing for the work that they do. But does that mean that mistakes can't be made? Does that mean that, you know, the system as a whole can't be overzealous in procedures and products and medications that you may not be really necessary in all situations? Absolutely. And I have witnessed that. I have experienced that. I have witnessed that in my family. I have witnessed that in my friends. I have witnessed that in my clients. And so for me, there's just more and more and more evidence to show that, you know, questions need to be asked and that things, you know, need to be different. When you can go to a provider and they can tell you nothing is wrong, but you feel like crap, and they test your labs and they look at your labs and they say your labs are normal, but you feel like crap and you are miserable and you're losing weight or gaining weight or, you know, having big mood swings or feeling extremely depressed or, you know, fill in the blank, and everybody's telling you, hey, everything looks normal. They're not listening to you. You know, they're not listening to you, the patient, the person, and trying to explore what else may be going on. The numbers and the labs and the images may say that nothing's wrong, but you can tell that something is wrong and something is not right. And how do you trust the doctors? How do you know who to trust after that? How do you know where to go and where to get your information? I can't say that for certain either. I am constantly learning and finding new sources and new evidence and providers to follow and listen to and learn from. The thing I can say, and that I've had talks with family, friends, colleagues, patients, is to do your own research, is to question, and question until you feel confident or comfortable in the answers that you're getting. So if you're going to your provider and you have a lack of trust in them, that doesn't bode well for me. If I am going to somebody and I don't trust them and I don't believe their answers and I don't know that their answers line up with what I'm experiencing, am I going to trust what they're recommending for me? Even if I fully trust in, say, Western medicine, if that is what's happening in your appointments, think about, what questions you need answered, and if they are providing you those answers. I want you to make an informed decision. It's called informed consent. And informed consent is more than just, here's a piece of paper with information on it. Informed consent is having the pros and the cons, not just all the pros, not just all the good things that are going to happen because of this medication or this surgery. It's what are the bad things that can happen? What are the side effects? Am I going to have to do something because I'm getting this procedure or taking this medication? What are the consequences of that? And oftentimes those things aren't explained fully, and you go into something, not all the time. Now, granted, there are different providers and different doctors, and some are really great at providing all of the necessary information, both good and bad, and some are really terrible at it. And then there's everybody in between. And I have talked with people on both sides. So again, you are going to experience what you experience, and you're going to then take that information, your experience, your knowledge, and you're going to be able to do something with that. And that's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to take the feeling you're getting. If you're going to your doctor and you're just not feeling right, I want you to listen to that. I want you to you take something away from that. If that is to ask more questions, if that is to get a second opinion, I want you to be able to do that. I want you to feel confident in yourself and your ability to know what's right or best for you. And I know that's hard. And we don't always know what's right or best for us. At minimum, I want you to feel comfortable with the answers that you're given. We may not like the answers. There's a difference. I may not like what I'm hearing. That doesn't mean that that's not an answer to the question. So I've seen that happen too many times. And recently I just thought that this was kind of pulling on me, tugging on me to be able to talk about it with you. And the loss of faith or trust in someone sometimes is a overnight thing, right? It's one thing that can happen. And the trust is gone. It has to be built back up again, with an individual, with a group, with a system that's in place, like a medical system. Sometimes it's more gradual, just things that happen. You go, oh, that doesn't fit. Ah, I don't like that. Oh, why did that happen? And you just slowly start to question. And over time, you realize that your position has changed. And for me, I feel like that's how it happened for me. It wasn't one big thing. It was lots of little things that happened, and hearing other people's experiences and learning information that I hadn't learned. It was going to school for health education and then learning all kinds of stuff I had never learned and considered outside of my college education, related to health, things that, knowing now, I can't believe that I thought and felt the things that I did. And, honestly, can't believe that I never learned the things that I'm learning now. So the loss in trust and faith is really, could come down to a lack of information, a lack of like that informed consent with what you're getting and what you're doing. And when you meet those providers that are informed, you start to have faith in them. I've also experienced that, going to appointments for one of my children who we had concerns over allergies or negative experiences to anesthesia, and the doctors, we had several appointments where like one doctor didn't have any knowledge of that and had to go explore that and look that up. So that was concerning. And then to go to another, more important, appointment for them to know exactly what we were talking about and to have that information and that knowledge, right? That was comforting and, you know, provided some reassurance. So it's important for you to ask questions. It's important for you to explore and learn information. And you can get that information from your peers. You can get it from other people's lived experiences. You can get it from the news. The news is not always accurate and often is biased. Again, whatever side you're on can be very biased on either side. So I know a lot of people who will watch, you know, news on both sides of the aisle, who we know are, you know, maybe biased in one direction or the other, just to see like what's going on, just to get both sides and get both perspectives. I encourage you to do that, whether it's related to medicine, politics, religion, your individualized relationships. Information is key. And, you know, some people may say too much information is not a good thing, and that may be true, but also not enough information is not a good thing. The more information you have on a subject, on whatever it is you're trying to do or learn about, the better off you're likely going to be, because you're going to get a more well-rounded perspective, and then you're going to have that informed, not consent necessarily depending on the subject, but you're going to be well informed. And it's always okay to change your mind. It's okay to, you know, think one thing and learn new information and be able to shift your perspective. There's nothing wrong with that. We all do that. Some people are more willing to acknowledge that than others. So I just felt like the need to kind of address that today. Things have been happening in the news and around town, and you know, I didn't want to address certain incidents specifically as they are kind of like hot topics, but just talking more in general and taking from experiences that I've personally experienced and witnessed and heard about. And, you know, I've had enough of my clients and my family members and my friends not getting the treatment that they deserve from their providers because they're, you know, not giving them the information that they need. I encourage you to ask. And keep asking until you get the information that you need. And if you're not getting it from the people that you're supposed to trust, find someone else, right? That may be another doctor. It may be an alternative doctor. It may be, you know, somebody else, somewhere else. That's okay. You may have to shop around. That's okay too. That's what second, third opinions are for. You don't have to trust the very first person you go to. You can, if that works out for you, and that is what ends up being helpful, and you know, you get that feeling and that trust from that provider. Great, awesome. I'm happy for you. I want that for you. And no matter what you're doing and what route you take, I want you to be able to trust the information you're receiving, and I want you to be able to ask questions and get answers. And we know that that doesn't always happen. Some people ask questions and they are pushed away. Some people ask questions and they are shut down, discharged. You know, it's not okay to challenge, and that's not okay to me. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you again next week.